Hello and welcome to Move the Line, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Ryan Noonan joined here for conference championship weekend, as always, by my friend Connor Allen. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, not too much. Got a couple of things pretty right, I think, in the last round. Got a couple of things very, very wrong in the last round. Yeah, it was an interesting week. I think roughly broke even. Maybe it was down like a unit or so, but it's okay. We got some room to give back after how good of a season it was. So excited for this week, though. Two pretty awesome games, and should be fun.
Yeah, crazy. Think about last time we met to do shows, even Friday. Since then, one of the teams I think we expected to be here, has lost both of their coordinators, and they've now taken head coaching jobs. How much things can change so quickly in this world. But shout out to the Commanders. Insane game. I feel like that first half was just like, I don't know, maybe one of the most entertaining halves of football that we've had all season. It was whatever that, like, I forget what the exact phrase is, like why, like, so you could snort cocaine and jump on an airplane in the back.
This is
whatever that is. That was that first half of that football game. It was wild.
It reminded me of the Falcons first half before, when they had Kyle Shanahan as offensive coordinator. Like back in the Matt Ryan MVP days, all that stuff. They would just like light up the board. It was like they're averaging like 20 something points in the first half every week, and it was just like wild. It was Detroit's attrition on defense just finally came to fruition. We're like, how are they going to put it together each week? And they kept finding a way to do it. And we talked about it on the show. We're like, there's going to be a lot of big plays. I'm just not sure if they can be consistent. They were consistent, and there was big plays. So shout out to Jaden Daniels. Definitely did not expect him to be this good right off the bat, and he's awesome.
Awesome. They were 150-1 in preseason to win the title, and here they are alive down to the Final Four, which is absolutely bonkers. I think the other three teams still alive. If you were to make a really short list to start the year, these three are all probably in your top 5 or top 6, so not super surprising there. But again, it's just getting hot at the right time, and we'll talk through some of those here. Before we do, want to remind folks, be a pal, subscribe, take 30 seconds, review the show as well. Those things help us keep these shows free. 4for4 bets on YouTube channel, Move the Line, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to scoop up a betting subscription, not a lot of time left on it, but to get access to all the things that we do at 4for4, get your foot in the door, get in the Discord to get a sense of what that is like. 4for4.com/plans for like $15 or something like that. Really cheap right now. Check it out. If you have any questions, let us know. Great place for you to do any of your football speculation next season. We kind of continue, though, so we'll take a little bit of break, a week or two typically after the Super Bowl, but then we'll jump right into some of the offseason stuff. Obviously the coaching carousel is already moving in place. Start looking at the draft and all those different things. So jump in and come hang out with us is best way to do it. We appreciate all the support. Move the Line episode 1. There are 2 every week. Prop drop still coming all the way through. 2 more episodes. Gets a little bit thinner at this time of year, but we'll get a little bit, maybe we'll go off the board. You get into some different props, not obviously just player props. We get into some of these divisional matchups in Super Bowl, because obviously the board gets a little thin, especially if we're keeping stuff live for the Friday shows. But come back. That is 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Prop drop, Connor, myself, and Hyslop. So, all right, buddy, let's jump into the first one here. We have, again, a couple of rematches. One, obviously, a divisional match. They played twice. Both these teams actually met in week 11, which is interesting. Commanders on the road in Philly. You've had some movement here. Obviously, some questions around the health, and I guess, not whether he's going to play or not, but really how healthy Jalen Hurts is. We're looking basically right now at some 6.5s out there in the marketplace. 47.5 as well. What are your thoughts on Commanders and Eagles?
Yeah, it's opened up at 4.5, now up to 6.5 in some spots, which is pretty interesting. That my initial inclination was kind of some of the same in the market. I thought 4.5, wow, it's pretty short. This Commanders run just kind of has to come to an end here sooner than later. They just don't have enough pieces. They're not well-rounded enough. But then I kind of dove a little further, and I'm like, well, Jalen Hurts is a bit banged up. He's probably not going to be quite as mobile. They did a decent job selling out to stop the run for pieces of their last 2 meetings. Now Saquon ended up with 146 and 150 rushing yards. But again, those two came on like two just like are mostly massive runs. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. I think we're going to see the Commanders try and load the box. They did periodically. That doesn't always work. We saw the Rams try and load the box last week. I mean, Saquon ran for 200 because it's if you don't fill the holes or if Saquon, cuts one back, there's no one in the second level basically to stop him. So there might be more 3-yard runs, 2-yard runs, 4-yard runs, and then he might just hit you for 75 or 60. So I really struggle with this game because I think that the Eagles, interestingly enough, came out passing the ball against them last time, which was kind of weird. It was before Jalen Hurts got injured, and I think it was week 16 or so. 5 of their first 6 first downs, they were dropbacks before he got injured. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Commanders like kind of the chess match that we see from these coaches of like, okay, well, if you're going to load the box, we're just going to come out and do like quick hitters to like AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. Goddard has played incredibly well since returning from injury. So on the offense there, like that's kind of how I expect them to do it. Like come out and try and like go against them, unless Washington's letting them run, which I just can't fathom them like not trying to have at least 7 to 8 in the box every single snap. Any thoughts on the Eagles like offense versus Commanders defense from you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of how they approached last week too. It felt like a little bit of, the first 15 scripted felt more pass heavy early, at least heavier than I was expecting them to be. That's probably to just want to soften up that front a little bit, show a willingness to pass. It is something they can do. It just has been just kind of neutered of late. These really low passing numbers and AJ Brown and Devonta Smith basically doing nothing and getting by because it just was this insane efficiency from Saquon. To your point, these home runs from Saquon just really hard to kind of game plan against because, like you said, just takes one, and all of a sudden it's a game breaker. So it's the pressure. I'm interested to see what happens here from a pressure standpoint. Obviously, the Rams have done a great job all season getting home with their young front, and the offensive line for Philadelphia is one of the best in league that had a ton of trouble. Like each of the starting offensive linemen gave up at least 4 pressures and a sack last week against the Rams. And that's kind of bonkers. Like it's, not something that the Commanders do super well, but Quinn does a really good job at like scheming things up. They do blitz a lot from the second level. I believe both Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner are like 1 and 2 in linebacker blitz rate. Like Levante David is right there too from Tampa Bay, but like they love to send from the second level. So, we've seen Hurts take a ton of sacks this year. His pressure to sack rate is way up. Part of that is I think is not super healthy, indecisive. So what do they do in getting the ball out quickly? That's going to have a massive impact for this game as well. I think the same thing can be said on the other side is really how does Jaden Daniels, who's been fantastic against pressure this season, great against the blitz, low pressure to sack rate, which has been, I think, the one thing that I've been the most surprised at him coming in this year because it was such a problem for him last year. Again, just see this sometimes with these really athletic college guys that just hold on to the ball a little bit too long because hero ball can work. And, you have talented receivers on the outside like he had with Neighbors and BTJ, holding on the ball a little bit longer is a pretty good option. So he's been able to get the ball out really quick. In that first meeting, he had his lowest ADOT of the year in that meeting against Philadelphia, really trying to get the ball out quickly. So is that another part of their game plan? How do they handle it? So I think the pressure part is massive for both these teams. So yeah, how healthy do you think Hurts is? Do you think it's just a matter of struggling? He's been dinged up a little bit, or do you think it's really going to impact play?
Yeah, I would think maybe it just impacts like the amount of designed runs. Like, it's like that's probably what it mostly impacts. He's not scrambling as much a little bit either, but like again, the game's on the line. I think that he's gonna, if he needs to scoot, he'll scoot. I just don't think it's gonna be like maybe their first option to do. So I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting. Also, you brought up a good point with Jaden Daniels under pressure and like his ADOT against the Eagles in 2 games, 5.9 against all other teams. It was 7.9. And I noticed that too. I went back and watched some of the game, especially the fourth quarter when they kind of had that comeback. It was a lot of like, his eyes just didn't go outside that much. It was like the only time he was outside is if he saw a certain type of coverage pre-snap where he was just like, all right, I'm going to just bomb it, basically. It was a lot of like over the middle stuff. So I think it's probably going to be a lot of, check downs, a lot of dump offs. which is okay. I mean, he's moving the sticks. That's fine. It's just like, stylistically, it's just going to be lower ADOT stuff. A pretty interesting note here as well. First 3 quarters in both matchups, 56% completion rate, 6 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Fourth quarter, those matchups, 73.5% completion rate, 6.7 yards per attempt with 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Like, just first 3 quarters looked terrible. Fourth quarter turned it up in both matchups. Second one, they obviously won. First one, they got a touchdown at the end to like kind of make the score look better, but the Eagles dominated them in the end, by the end of the game. So it's, for me, it's like, if I don't know, like again, initially I almost wanted the Philly -4.5, and I was like, you know what, they're going to blow them out. Now I almost think like Commanders +6.5 is kind of interesting. Like, there's also the other factor of like, what if something crazy happens? Like we talk about every week with Lamar. I mean, like, what if, I don't know, the Commanders get a kick return touchdown or like hit an 80-yard bomb first play, and the Eagles like are down 10-0, and then in the first quarter. I mean, it's not likely, but it's certainly possible. Like, can Jalen Hurts just man up and pass their way back, or they just keep running the ball? Like, I don't know. I have serious questions about that, but I don't know. TBD.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, if we don't know what the game plan is going to be, but I think from the Commanders' point of view, they've kind of seen both extremes from how Philly is going to scheme against them. Because in the first time that they met, they only blitzed Daniels on 12% of his dropbacks. It was the lowest blitz rate that they faced all season long. The second, they blitzed at 36%. It was the second highest blitz rate that the Eagles dialed up all season long. So they definitely were intentional in the second game about doing something than they did the first game. So what did they decide was the best format? You'd have to think the first one seemed to work better. They didn't get, part of that too, that first game, we're still dealing with a little bit of, I think, injury from his ribs. He didn't have a lot of success running, didn't run quite as much. So it's really hard to kind of figure out, was that scheme and how Philly played him, or was he still not really 100%? Because I think we've just seen very different looking Jane Daniels here once we've got kind of out of the middle of the season. So scheme or health, that's kind of it too. It makes it really hard. So now that we've kind of cooked out to 6.5, I'm kind of with you. 4.5 probably did feel a little bit light, even though chances of it landing in the middle there is pretty small, right? That's not a typical spot for where scores come into play. So yeah, I mean, I think just sometimes just want something different. I would love for this story to continue. So not a great way to handicap football games, but this continues to cook out. I think it probably does too. I don't know if we touch 7, but I think you probably see 6.5 as kind of, holding steady if we get better Jalen Hurts news as this gets closer to kick.
Yeah. Also, last note for me, Sam Cosmi, right guard, out. Obviously matters against the Eagles' interior, pass rush, and just in general, like running the ball. Like I'm really interested to see what happens there. I think that could be a major problem for them as well. And I think could be a potential driving factor if for some reason the Commanders get blown out. It's just like they can't, like he's just under pressure basically every play. So
Jalen Carter was awesome.
Yeah.
Against the
so
Rams.
good.
So good. Just for him to finally, he was awesome. So yeah, that could be a problem. Obviously, we could see more flush outs for Daniels too. So maybe it's an attempts thing on Jane Daniels here. So, all right, the next one, another rematch from week 11. Bills won the first one, 30-21. We are out here now. Kansas City between 1.5 and 2. Total basically 47.5 across the board. I'm so sick and tired of the ref nonsense, Connor. It drives me absolutely insane. There might be something to it. I have no idea, but as a Patriots fan, I felt like going through that myself. I feel like it massively discredits what we're actually watching. And part of me is just like, I hate that part of it for what we're watching in the greatness. Now, this is a Bills team that defense is struggling. They're, I think, healthier than they were, healthier than even they were last time that these two teams met. Kansas City also talked about it last week, just kind of a different team now, way that they kind of have fallen into piece with some of the receivers, defense back with, Jalen Watson coming back there too. It's going to be a great matchup. I don't have a great handicap lean. I kind of agree with the sentiment that we're kind of tired of the Chiefs and want something new. I just don't think like the league is in on rigging the Chiefs winning games, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I get every week I get texts from my father-in-law about like these random things, but mostly about the Bears. But then I got one this week or last week is like, I'm done watching this shit. Like the refs are just throwing flags every time Mahomes get touched, which I think there's a little bit of truth to it, but it's like obviously it's just when you're so good and you have a target on your back, everything that goes your way is dramatized and like blown up into epic proportions. So like I don't know. I mean, I think maybe a little bit, but like, I'm definitely not a conspiracy theorist or anything. Like it's probably not any more than normal. It's just because of our biases of like, why does this team always good? Like, and anytime he gets pushed out of bounds, which is illegal, like he gets a flag. So it's like, that makes sense. But I'm going to go with a pretty gross player. I mean, shocker for me. I like the under in this game. It sounds crazy. Under 47.5. I thought this was going to be like 45 and a half. Kind of made more sense to me. Bills' main weakness defensively is their run defense. Kansas City just like can't run the ball. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco is terrible. Has not recovered from his injury. He's like playing less and less. Kareem Hunt has been steadily bad. Like he's like averaging, 3.8, 3.9 yards per carry. Pacheco is like 3.5, 3.25. Like he can't do anything. Neither of them can do much, but like they've reduced Pacheco's role each week and like increased Kareem Hunt's, but like they just know at least what they're going to get, which is 4 yards in a cloud of dust from Kareem Hunt. With Pacheco, it's even less. So I don't think they can really exploit that weakness. And on the other side here, this Kansas City defense, Jalen Watson back, as you mentioned, like basically fully healthy. The Bills, I think, can exploit them a little bit over the middle, but like they just keep rotating like Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper on the outside. And like those guys are just going to do nothing basically when they're on the outside. So it's just going to be all over the middle. It's basically going to be up to Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, and Curtis Samuel to exploit the Chiefs defense. And the Chiefs run defense has been awesome all year, but they have played not as well lately. So I think that's kind of an interesting point, something I've been struggling with. I don't know if you have a lean or handicap on that because they let up a lot of yards and were not that good against Pittsburgh. They were not that good last week against Joe Mixon either. And then now they get James Cook and the Bills, who have been running the ball really, really well. I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Like I've been struggling with that a lot because I think that there's some value on either an over and under on James Cook or that whole thing, but I just don't know where to go with it.
I think it like bodes well for your lean on the total, right? As well, just the pace of play, them running the ball a lot, all those different things. Yeah. I haven't dug into. I will though now because I think you make a good point. But they have struggled, at least definitely where they were at the beginning of the year. It was really, really, really difficult to run on them. So yeah, they're going to have to be. It's going to be bully ball over the middle. It's going to be a lot of Josh, as it was last week, as it is every week that Buffalo takes the fields. Because I do agree with you, the rotation of just kind of Jags on the outside isn't really enough for anyone to kind of separate there. So Patrick, 1 rushing touchdown each quarter. All right, 36-1. I mean, worse bets.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that bad. Like, I mean, you're good for 1 from Josh, at least in 1 quarter. I don't know. Mahomes, Mahomes anytime touchdown is always live in the playoffs.
Yep.
So I don't know. Yeah, Kareem and James Cook could easily get 1 in there too. So I don't know. It's not that bad. 36-1. I've definitely made worse bets.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll be interested to see if we get some if the weather's okay the day of and we get some good reports. People like to cheer for points the day of. We're sitting really on some key numbers total wise. So we start to cook out a little bit. I'm with you. I think we're probably under is probably a pretty good look here. So just with the expected run, short, efficient passing game from the Chiefs. Christian Benford injury on Buffalo side is something we really need to watch. Late concussion in that game. I mean, he's been fantastic this year. Without him on the outside is going to be interesting. Taylor Rapp dinged up as well with a hip injury. I think Rapp probably plays. They have Cole Bishop, rookie from Utah. They drafted I think they probably wanted him and expected him to start the season, but Damar Hamlin's been pretty good. But coverage has not been a strong suit for Cole Bishop yet in his early career. Don't necessarily want him playing, 100% of the snaps against Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game in the back half of that defense. So we have to kind of monitor those two injuries. I think they matter for the handicap of the game, for especially to your point, if the Chiefs are going to have to be pass heavy, well, what does Buffalo's defense look like without Rapp, without Benford? That's a totally different question. So worth monitoring.
It's interesting for sure. We got a couple of questions here too. I guess we talked about this, one rushing touchdown, and then would you rather talk politics a little more with my father-in-law? I'll trade in a heartbeat. No, I'll pass on that.
You get that too, Patrick. I mean,
that's
not
that's
that.
It's package deal. It's not, I was just talking about the bad football takes, that's all I get. But no, it's this game. Yeah, I think under is interesting. Buffalo in a teaser above 7. All of these games have been, I think it was like 4 out of the 5 have been within 4 points, basically. Like they just play each other close. I mean, I expect nothing less in this instance. It's going to be a close kind of, I think, more of a grinded out game and just a lot of stops, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'll probably have a lot of props. I already have 2 that I released on the game. Hopefully more to come.
Yeah. A few things I definitely will release that I'm waiting for some other outs for that I'm excited on the defensive side. I think could be interesting. Patrick talking about running it back with Eagles rushing total over this week. So, play that we had last week with Detroit rushing team total over. I think it's also pretty viable here for
Guess
Philly.
what the numbers at? I looked after you said that.
158.5.
180, 178. Sorry. I mean, it's because of Hurts. That's why. So they adding 30, which I actually don't like. I guess. But I don't like it because I don't think Hurts is that mobile. So like I'm almost more interested in taking like Hurts rushing attempts unders or rushing yards unders, which is I don't know, but the yards are tough. I mean, it's only at 30. So like I don't know if I want to bite that, but attempts maybe. I don't like if he was full health, I think the over would be a smash. But because we don't know, it's not. I mean, they ran for over. It was like 220 and 210, I think, in their 2 games combined against him.
Yeah, Saquon had like 99 the first quarter last game.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the well if we can get hopefully another book to get involved in the total punts in the game. So I'll take under 6.5, under 5.5 plus money. We only had 2 punts in that Lions. We got one on the first drive from the Lions. That was 2 for the entire game. So 5.5 plus money would be great.
I got a text from Steve, friend of the show. He was at DraftKings on Saturday, and he's like, dude, I'm just loading the kiosk with, $1,000 to bet under 6.5 punts. He's like, I love this reasoning or whatever. First drive, 3 and out punt. He's like sweating. He's like, what's going on here? He's like, holy shit. Like I fucked up. Of course, one other punt the rest of the game. It was like, got home easily. But he said people were looking at him like, what is this guy doing? Like, why is he betting under 6.5 punts for as much as the kiosk will give him? That's the way to do it because no one else was taking more than, $20 on it. But that's why the kiosk exists for people like us,
Yeah. I have not found them yet. And again, like I said, I hope they become available someplace other than DraftKings. We see unique markets like that emerge more as we get closer to the Super Bowl and they try to get some stuff out there. So yeah, we're looking for that. But you have you were on the Eagles. I had a Chiefs Lions Super Bowl. Chiefs are still involved. I had the Lions winning. I think you had an Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. So you could still land the plane here, I think.
Yeah, I think so, actually. Yeah, I did. I had a rematch of before. I mean, it'd be pretty awesome. I feel like I think I have a ticket somewhere of the exact matchup. I bet everything that I talk about in the show somewhere. I just got to figure out which book or which out I bet it on. But I don't know. Like I feel less good about this Eagles team than I think that I did initially because almost all my handicap was based around they're gonna just clean their schedule up and play better defense. Their defense is better, but like their passing game just hasn't looked good in I don't even know months. Like I don't think there's ever been a point where I'm like, oh, this team can easily just pass their way if some shit goes sideways or a team just puts 8 in the box, 9 in the box the entire time. Like they can do it, no problem. Jalen Hurts doesn't look that good. AJ Brown's, has been not playing all that well either. He should have caught that one in the end zone. I thought that was on him. People were saying it was on Hurts. I thought it was on him. He just kind of dropped it.
Gets you in the hands. You're going to catch it.
I kind of agree. And Devonta Smith has just been like a 5-yard A-dot emergent, like literally just catching like little. The only one who's been good has been Dallas Goedert. Like he's like a man amongst boys out there. Everyone else is playing like a bunch of losers. So I don't know. I don't have much confidence in them right now as much as I should, but I'm excited for them.
Yeah. Brian in the chat, Commies Bills moneyline parlay. I mean, not super stoked about that, but I would love to watch that game. So I don't hate putting a couple bucks on something you want to root for.
So I'm going to be in Vegas this weekend. Lewis, our friend Lewis, is loves the Bills. He wants to bet the Bills. I don't really have too much to take on the side. I might just bet the Bills because I want them to win, just because like I think they're fun. I would love to see Josh Allen in a Super Bowl. An Eagles-Bills Super Bowl would be awesome. I mean, if you had to choose one, are you choosing the Chiefs or the Bills? It's so hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes, but
coming into the playoffs, I thought we were looking at, unfortunately, another Chiefs win. Nothing really makes me think that that's changed. I think we saw it, what you were calling last week, the unveiling of Travis Kelce, bubble wrapped and send out to go close. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the Chiefs, man. And I want to be wrong. I really do. Like Bills, like Josh Allen is so fun to watch, so easy to root for. Yeah, I really wanted those two fan bases of Detroit and Buffalo to get a shot. It'd have been really tough for one of them to lose, but I would love to see the opportunity for that to happen. I mean, Washington has got a great history, multiple Super Bowl championships, most right before you were born. But that, other than like that, this is the last time they were in the playoffs or have done anything. So it's also a fan base for like most of the last 30 years has been suffering as well. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, actually, the last time that the Washington football team was in the Super Bowl, it was against the Bills. Pretty sure. So we'll love to see that come back and get the rematch. But I'm definitely don't want to put money down against Patrick Mahomes. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, all right, buddy. Enjoy Vegas. We'll be back from Vegas on Friday for Prop Drop. Again, come back on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be joined by High Slot to talk props and some more shenanigans that I'm sure will follow. So for Connor, I'm Ryan. We'll see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.